Okay. Classes, objects, and creating types. Okay, so we're going to start with an example. At your house, your neighbor has built a really awesome new garden shed. You got one of those frenemy relationships, right? And you want a garden shed that's as awesome as their garden shed. But you don't want to ask them about it. You just want them to come back from vacation one day and see your garden shed that's a little bit better than their garden shed. What are some things that you'd have to consider?
The size and shape of their garden shed.
Size and shape of the garden shed. What else?
Color.
Color. What else?
Design.
Design. Right. Like
how
what?
many windows, how many doors.
Right. Like how awesome would your garden shed be with windows? Right. Like have a little man cave area in there, a she shed area in there.
Jet pool. Oh yeah. Hot tub.
Hot tub or jet pool. You get both of them. You could build them into one.
Yeah.
Seems like just one thing. The materials that you use to build it, right? All those.
From your neighbor.
What's it?
Just take it from your neighbor.
Just go grab a piece of their shed, maybe. Right. So you have to consider all those things. So it's the same thing that we would consider when we are building our classes. All the things that we need, all the things that we would need to build whatever we're trying to build. If we had a garden shed class, you could look at all of those things depending on what you want to abstract and what you want to model. Okay, here's what we're going to have today. We're going to talk about user-defined and native data types. We're going to create some new types. We're going to use getters and setters. So these are all the things that if we've got properties, how do we view the properties on our objects and how do we set them? We're going to talk about the difference between a class and an object. We've covered it a little bit, talked about it a little bit. We'll be sure to explain it more today. And then we're going to talk about a constructor. We use that static keyword. All we knew about static before was that it was required. It was mandatory, like a Liz Lemon party. We're going to talk about what that means. Talk about the dot operator. Who wants to guess what a dot operator looks like? It looks like a dot.
No, it doesn't.
We've used the this keyword a little bit. And then finally, we're going to use it in a program. Okay. Classes and objects. All right. When you think about a class is like a blueprint. It's the design of an object. It's not the actual object. Okay. We've got classes and we've got objects. You'll have one class and you use that class to create a bunch of objects. You define a class house and then you can make houses. So if you think of it like a blueprint, in the kitchen of the house on your blueprint, you probably just have stove written where the stove's gonna go, right? But the kind of stove that's there, you could put any stove that you want. Maybe on your blueprint, you've got an optional front porch. Maybe you don't have to have a front porch. Your blueprint will have all that information for you. So you make houses and then how customizable they are depends on how you've implemented your blueprint.
It's kind of a template.
It's like a template, that's right. Cookie cutter, a Jello mold. Okay, so class is the blueprint. Use it to make objects. I've used this word before. Use it to instantiate objects. Instantiate, the root word there is instance, so you make an instance of an object. Use the blueprint to instantiate a house. You use a Jello mold to instantiate a delicious circular looking piece of Jello or a Jello dish. You can think of this like as dog breeds, right? So you got a golden retriever, you got a Shih Tzu, I said it. You got a Pomeranian, you got a Rhodesian Ridgeback, right? You can think of that as a class. You can't go out and walk Pomeranian, okay? But if you've got Buddy, your Pomeranian, you can walk that guy. So Pomeranian, the class, an actual object, an actual dog object is Buddy, Spot, Rover, Daenerys, whatever.
Yes.
Classes and objects, okay. So you would have an object, and that's an instance of a class, all right? You can actually use objects. You can't actually do anything with a class. You actually create objects that are instances of classes. We've talked about types, numbers, text, and Booleans. Those are native types. That means that they're just a part of Java automatically. Then we've got user-defined data types. So these are higher level constructs. Scanner is considered a user-defined data type. All the stuff that you made your UML diagrams out of, we're going to make user-defined types out of those. These types are made of properties and methods. We talked about that stuff yesterday. So the UML diagram, we're building toward actually defining a class and then using that to instantiate objects.